Good evening, model railroaders, and welcome back to the Second Section podcast, where it's regular guys talking about model railroading. I'm your host, Andy Dorsch, and joining me this evening is my co-host, Mike Ostertag. Mike, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. Working through some mechanical issues there, huh, Mike?
Yeah. I went to adjust my microphone, and the thing tilted all the way back like this on me. I'm like, oh, that's not good at this point. So
you're gonna have
okay.
that.
Yeah, we're gonna have that. I just learned not to touch things.
Yeah, high value, high production value here at the Second Section. Expect nothing less.
Right.
So tonight's going to be an interesting show this evening. We're going to go back to almost our original format. So for those of you in the section crew who remember the early days, we had a segment called hashtag not sponsored. So there was a couple of cool things that were released over the National Model Railroaders Association National Convention was in Texas this last couple weeks.
Did you say Texas?
Texas. It was in Texas. Texas with a dollar sign.
Oh, you know why I look so close?
Yeah.
Because I zoomed in before. There we go.
Yeah. Now you look better.
There we go. That's better.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
The production value is just off the charts tonight.
Well, we should let everybody know right away before you keep going that if we're going to do one of the original formats, they should expect us to be
right. We're going to go back. We're going back.
Type of show.
We're reverting back.
Yeah.
And that's all right. So at any rate, bar set pretty low. But yeah, Texas with the dollar sign. A lot of cool announcements in terms of products there. So we're going to hit that back up with hashtag not sponsored this evening. Then after that, we're going to do short line of the show. And we have a real humdinger.
Yeah. This is going to be a pretty fun one.
So yeah, it's going to be a substantial short line of the show. We got lots of information from a great source, so really looking forward to sharing that with you all this evening. And then we're going to get into our topic this evening about how, and this is one of Mike's passions, and I kind of joked this evening that this was going to be the Mike Ostertag show, so to speak. So buckle up. It's going to be a wild ride, but we're going to talk about how railfanning actually can inspire and improve your model railroading. So stick around for that. And then at the end of the show, we're going to be giving something away.
Yeah.
And so that's
and just so you guys know, oh, wait a minute, wrong show. It's right there. That right. Yeah. Literally,
yep. So that,
I can't move anymore because you'll see what it is. Well,
yeah, that very, very
obscure looking box.
Yeah, that cardboard box in there. We're going to give something away. So look forward to that this evening. So, but yeah, it looks like we got quite a few people out there in the chat this evening. 104 here tonight. Checking in. I know Heath had a big show tonight. So over at Humanity Junction, if you haven't checked him out and you haven't seen some of his live streams, he's always on before us every Tuesday night, 7 Central, and make sure to catch him. But anyways, I think we should get right into the old format here. Let's rock and roll with a little hashtag not sponsored. What do you think?
I think so.
All right. Greasy meat hands. Hit it.
Amazes me that those guys can take such a hiatus and know that right off the cuff like that.
Oh, they
are professionals.
They do it. They do it flawlessly. I mean, they practice all the time. But
gratis too. That's what's amazing.
I don't even know what that means, but
free.
It sounds good.
Pro bono.
Pro bono. Okay. So first up, on the docket this evening, is I know we've been talking a lot about freelance model railroads as of late,
Yeah.
and one of the hobby's suppliers for freelance model trains is home shops, right?
Oh,
And
absolutely.
they announced a really cool series of, I believe these are Tangent, 40-foot high cube box cars. And if you haven't seen these yet, these look really, really cool. And they got some of my favorite freelance model railroads in there. So you can see right up front and center is former show guest here on the second section, Tom Johnson's Cass County Railroad in beautiful boxcar red. That's just
so cool.
Isn't that such a that's a really good looking car. And let's see what else is out there. Pilar Valley Railway, beautiful yellow boxcar with the pine trees there. Delaware and Allegheny, the Springfield, Omaha, and Denver. And I can't make out the last one in the back. Let me see here if I can get a closer shot. No, can't see it. Hopefully someone from the section crew can cue us in, but they're really good looking cars. So if you're looking to get in on the 60s, 70s, and 80s freelance game, Home Shops' new release is where it's at. So really looking forward to when those are coming out.
This was kind of a surprise too, because usually they just did those 86-foot box cars. They've done some cover toppers.
Yep.
And this one was kind of, Chris did a great job with this. He did a great job and kept the whole thing under the radar too, that it was coming out, because these were a lot of times back in the day, these cars were a lot of times used in appliance service when they were come out. I want to say they were for I know like in the real world, I know Denver and Rio Grande had a boatload of them. The Milwaukee Road had some. I mean, I want to say, oh man, the list. I know Southern Pacific had some.
Yes.
And they were all for like Whirlpool or something like that. They were all in like appliance service, and so
washers and dryers,
yeah, which is and they had like cushion device. You can see them right there on the cars right there. I mean, they even got them with the cushion devices on them, and so it really, really neat, really, really neat.
Yeah, you can see the draft gear with the cushion draft gear.
Yeah. It's something out of the ordinary, because nobody in contemporary modeling, nobody ever thinks of 40-foot cars,
right?
And I don't think that there's a whole lot of these running around now. I'm not sure what the status of these is, but who's to say they aren't?
Yeah, I mean, and for me, this is, the Chris at Home Shops knocked this one out of the park. This is definitely a shut up and take my money kind of moment here.
Right?
You guys have all seen that meme, right? Where Bender shut up and take my money. Yeah, this is exactly one of those scenarios. So anyways, I thought that was really cool. Kind of a really cool freelance offering coming up. I know I'll be getting a boatload of them. And speaking of Home Shops, they were scheduled tonight, but due to conflict, they're actually going to be coming on in a couple of weeks here. So they're
which is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're gonna talk to Chris next show here, and maybe he'll be able to explain himself when it comes to these cars. He also, what is it, the Class 1 depressed covered hopper, or not covered hopper? Oh my God. Depressed flat top from Class 1. He's done those too for like Michigan Interstate and a couple other home roads. So some really cool stuff coming from Home Shops.
Yeah,
That's
and
for sure.
the thing is the sky's really the limit for them, right? I mean,
Yeah.
there's a plethora of really, really great freelance railroads out there, and I think Chris has really he found a niche in the market that even prototype modelers are starting to gravitate to because he's done such a good job with these things, you know.
Yeah, the fidelity is amazing. They
Oh yeah,
look. There's no doubt, that these belong side by side with other rivet counter type model offerings. So, kind of staying in the tangent lane. Um, Tangent just released a new um, Caboose. Now,
that's kind of neat.
the ICC Wide Vision Caboose for Northern Pacific, Spokane, Portland, and Seattle, and then the Burlington Northern.
BN fans are drooling.
Oh, I'm drooling. These are just cool looking cabooses.
Phenomenal looking.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've done it. They talk about hitting it out of the park, right? It's just, and the variations, the how many different BN ones are there? There is 6.
Right, and he covers the gambit from essentially when they were delivered in the 70s, with and they're some of them are lit, and what's really cool is they'll either come with the solid FRA flasher on the ends, or they also do the red and green lights.
Does anybody know what the green light is for?
Where there's
these, what's the green light for? I know what the red light is for, but what is the green? The Milwaukee Road had a pair of these also that were actually built the Burlington Northern specs.
Really?
And they had 2 of them. They were actually tacked onto the end of one of these orders, and they had they were the 99 2300 and the 2301. So 99 2301, but they had the same box on the back with the red and the green light, and I've never been able to figure out what the purpose behind the green light was. So if somebody knows, if somebody knows what the answer to that is, please share it, because it'll put my mind at ease. I'll be able to sleep tonight.
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting lighting arrangement at the back, back of the train, and it's a really it's interesting how Tangent's really scaled up the fidelity of the Caboose, right? Because you see a lot of high detailed locomotives out there at the front of the trains, and then where does your eye go to next? It's the end, right? And some of these Caboose have that he's released are just amazing. Now, just so you guys are all aware, the newcomers here, hashtag not sponsored, we don't get a dime from any of these vendors, and so this is essentially us just announcing some new stuff and giving our 2 cents, so that you guys know that, hey, Tangent didn't tell me to put this up there. Home Shops didn't tell me to put this up. This is just Mike and I being regular guys, regular modelers, and sharing what we think is cool.
We got 2 guys up here that gave an answer to my question.
Okay, which one?
Townie 72 and Camus Chris both have basically said the same thing. When green clear to pass on adjacent track. So, and then Camus Chris says basically the same thing. He says if right there, if they were in the siding and being overtaken, the green light would tell the oncoming crew they were safely in the siding. So that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I know that, like, on the New York Central, I believe it was, the New York Central did something similar with their class lights on the engine, to where if they were in the clear, they knew the Caboose was in the clear or whatever, they would flip the one closest to the main to green. At least that's what I was told. So that way an oncoming train could see that when the headlights were off, they could see that they had, it was kind of like us giving them the okay to keep on going, that they were in the clear. So that very cool. Thank you very much. That's thank you for helping me learn something.
The section crew always comes through.
Right?
They always come through in the clutch.
So reliable. And hey, look at, they're coming out with on deck.
Yeah.
How many of those are you buying?
So, fun story. I think the Mascoutin Valley could certainly use a handful of these Caboose.
Like a dozen?
I can't afford a dozen. You know, but I do want a few, that's for sure. Unfortunately, they come unlit. And I was really eyeballing the Northern Pacific offering, but they come with the full interior, all the parts, and I think it would be really cool to go back and build a few of these kits, custom paint them up for Mascoutin Valley, have them riding the rails here behind us on the layout. So I don't know, what do you guys think?
Now I'm just gonna say this. I might just pick one up, because the Mascoutin Valley may need to lease a Wisconsin and Midwestern one. They might have to have some kind of run-through service where the Wisconsin Midwestern Caboose kind of finds its way in the Mascoutin Valley. So I might have to,
cool.
I have to buy one of these just to see what it's all about.
Ooh, remember? Yeah, that would be a really cool take on. Oh yeah, that would be fun. And they also do the side flags here. They got individual side flags. Rail Friends Eddie says, "Are you guys really okay with $120 for a Caboose?"
If it's got that many parts to it, sure.
Yeah, I think I am.
I'm okay with it. I'm all right with it. If it's, I mean, it's 2023. The price isn't going to go back down to $10. So I mean, it's and with the fidelity, yeah, you're right. I can buy one for $70, but it has nowhere near the fidelity or detail that this has. It is a close rendition to it, but it is not anywhere near what these are. It has a long way to go. So, and as a matter of fact, I did just order a undecorated scale trains one. So,
you did? Yeah,
I pre-ordered one. Yeah. Yeah, I pre-ordered one.
So that's interesting. For a bit of a, I'm just looking at some of the chat here. Normal pricing for Tangent, right around $100. Some people are like, no, I'm not paying $120 for a Caboose. Some people are like, yeah, sign me up. John 2618 says he has an addiction for collecting undecorated. So
it's kind of all what your personal preference is, right? I mean,
right.
It depends on how true to the prototype you want to be and how much work you want to put into doing it, because you could buy a cheaper one, like a less expensive, I shouldn't say cheaper, but you could buy, say, an Atlas one for $30.
Right.
But by the time you end up putting the parts and all the details and everything else like that these have into it.
This is an Atlas one right here.
And there's absolutely nothing wrong with the Atlas ones. Absolutely nothing wrong with them. They're beautiful. They're gorgeous. But if you start looking at how much details cost and all the stuff that you would have to put into them and everything else like that, you're going to run another $30-$40 into it before you're got it all set. So you got another 70. And you don't have an interior.
Right.
But there's the argument. Do you need an interior? Because who's looking on the inside? I mean,
I don't know, man. With the internet, everyone's into everyone's business. I think Caboose business.
Caboose business is Caboose business. Yeah, that's true. So
yeah, I think it's an interesting. That
might be a good topic for a show one day. That's great.
What's that now?
Huh? Like pricing and cost and why things cost what they are and how pricing is generated and things like that. And where you get your bang for your buck type of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And Bernard at Mini Prints makes a valid point. Where will your mini figures hang out and get warm?
That is a great point.
So
That
I
is a
think,
good point. I mean,
and could you imagine with the details of those caboose, and then some of the beautiful 3D prints that Bernard does, hanging off the back platform of that caboose.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, who's the mini me gonna be waving to while I'm holding my camera?
I don't know.
Honestly, I mean, if there's no interior, there's nobody to be in there. That's a good point,
That's true.
Bernard. I like it.
Good point. Good point. Very good. So we almost had a seamless transition over to our next vendor, but of course we went on this diatribe and ruined it, and that's
Yeah.
all right.
Such as we do.
Such as we do. But you did mention scaled trains, and boy howdy, did they come out with their next museum quality model. And you know what, I, as a Midwestern modeler, I don't understand it.
Meh. For me, it's a meh. But for West Coast guys,
oh man, it is cool looking though, isn't it?
Oh, they did a great job with it. No doubt, they're beautiful, but it's, boy, that's a very, well, it's no different than the C39 that they came out. Really, I mean, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it honestly, I mean, they did that for Conrail guys, right? I mean,
right.
And so, I mean, this is kind of a SP type of deal. I don't know a lot about them. I know there were only a handful of them built. But
and then the demonstrators, right?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it basically looks like a regular old SD45 on steroids, basically, with the extra radiator fans and the extra like 3 feet of EMD power.
Kind of looks like a tunnel motor without the tunnel motor part.
Yeah, it does. Regardless, I did see the video about these and or this, when they released them, and they do look, they're right up there with the rest of the scale trains offerings. High fidelity, super crisp detail, that type of stuff. So be interesting. And don't let this get out in public, but I'm a closet SP fan.
No.
Yeah, I just love the bloody nose Southern Pacific scheme. It's just,
there was and I can't remember where I read this, but somebody had made a comment in some book that I have, and one of these days I'll have to go back and try to figure out what it is. But they said back in the day when the SP was still prominent and doing well, it was in the 70s or something like that. And they said, why does a railroad like the Southern Pacific have a paint scheme that is so drab and just so plain? It is so basic, but yet a railroad that is struggling financially, like the Rock Island, goes with a high maintenance, high color paint scheme. And that was when I started looking at how I wanted to start painting some of my freelance equipment. That one statement really kind of put me on my heels on that a little bit, because it started making me think, well, what kind of railroad do I have? Do I have a railroad that's making money or not?
Yeah, right.
So, so yeah, the SP, it's classic. And they dabbled with a really odd, remember that orange and gray paint scheme for a little while? They had that kind of
like the quasi daylight.
Yeah, the quasi daylight. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they had that going for a little bit, but yeah, it was a really, really, really weird. SP's.
Greg said it was because the SP leadership was smart.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's something else.
Yeah, and CP 368 says, the Rock Island was poorly managed during their bankruptcy.
Yeah.
So bankruptcy blue.
Yep.
It's pretty though. It is pretty.
It is.
Yeah. So okay.
And thank goodness it's still alive and kicking, because I tell you what, those engines do look sharp.
They are cool looking. Yeah.
Yep.
So we got a lot of response here from the section crew tonight, and I think that's outstanding. Just to see all the participation out there. I think what I'd like to do is just remind folks in the section crew, we do have some moderators out there. They're folks with little blue wrenches by their names in the chat. If things get out of line, they will give you the stanky boot and kick you out of the live stream tonight. So just keep it modeling related, topical, and pleasant with all the folks here, and we'll have a good time tonight. But section crew, Mike and I are going to talk about this one last topic here for hashtag not sponsored. But in the meanwhile, we're going to ask you a question. If there was one model that a vendor would come out with that you would just, that's it breaks the bank, you're buying every one of them, which one would it be?
Back in the day, it would have been the SDL 39.
Put your response in. Put the response in the chat. I want to see what you guys come up with. For me, it's real simple. It's the Chicago Northwestern H1666s from the Fairbanks Morris. Atlas came close. Yeah. Atlas came close with the 2466s, but if they did the 1666s, that'd be it. You never see me again. I'd break the bank.
You'd have to get a second and a third mortgage.
Yeah. Oh, look at this. Bob comes in, the Milwaukee Road SD10.
That's solid. That's a solid one. You could span so many different railroads with that one.
Perry Central KCS 210-4.
Oh, I like the fact that he went steam. That's in end scale nonetheless.
Yeah. Yeah. Dave Winther said I stole his. Hey man, it's that's all right. It's all right. If any vendors are out there, that's 2 for the Fairbanks Morris 1666. Split Rock says an Alco C415.
That's a solid choice too. Yep.
Robert Sinclair SD38
in end scale.
3 truck. I'm gonna guess Shea.
3 truck Shea. Again, solid. I like that.
Yeah, look at this. UPSW10 in N scale from Lucas L.
Wow.
Stephen N, a high quality CNW Jeep 40, the X Conrail units. You might see those.
That might happen one day with, some of the, who is it that just came out with the Jeep 40?
It was Rapido. Yeah, Rapido. And Bachman's got a rendition of it. And I believe Class 1 is doing a Jeep 40 as well.
Yep. You might see those.
Nick LaRusso, Jeep 20C Eco.
I like that idea.
Is that a CP?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Rob Galbraith, the old Buffalo rebuilds with the GP18 long hood.
I just saw a picture of one of those, and that is a face only a mother could love. I tell you what.
That's true. And Greenwood B37A BN cableless booster. Thomas Chris says Ann Arbor RS1 and RS2.
Ooh, good choice.
Walthers just announced an RS2 today.
Did they?
Yeah, in their main line.
Ooh.
Reading Conrail in S. Oh, he says, oops, SW1001.
That's a pretty underrated engine. That not a lot of railroads had those, but a lot of industry railroads had them,
Oh my gosh. I've opened up Pandora's box here. Maybe an SD80 Mac. They don't do those very often.
Somebody did that one time already, didn't they?
I don't know.
I thought Cato did them. I thought Cato did the SD80 Mac.
Yeah, I think you're right, but they haven't been. I don't think they've been back around.
Yeah,
no. John Cockle says CF7 in N scale, and then he also seconds Lucas's request for an SW10.
N scalers are coming out in force.
Yeah, Nathan Crabb.
There is somebody that does make a shell for those.
GBW,
Yep.
Green Bay and Western RS20. Let's see here, Greg. It's got a GP10. Let's see. Dave Nitch says, make that 3, Andy. I'm going to guess that's an affirmative there for the H1666. Daniel Banks. None. I am just not that particular. I'm partial to an 1800s 440, but do have any kind of modeling.
Is that called the American? Is that an American?
I don't know. I'm so bad with my Steam.
I'm terrible at Steam.
Boomer Diorama. He says an SRY EMD Jeep 9 chop nose with a slug.
Ooh, I like that idea.
I think didn't Rapido? Aren't they offering a Jeep 9 slug combo?
Yeah, I think they are, but I'm not sure if they're doing SRY.
Townie 72 on scale SD38AC, please, or a SD38-2. Robert Pettit, Elko C415. Blunt Truck, Elko Milwaukee Road.
Ooh.
18 Gas Critter. C3 636F. Ralph says the original Zephyr.
That would be kind of neat, actually.
Yeah. Electric motor EF1 available in brass. Need some more New Haven. Let's see here. ELS Modeler 400 also says, I agree with Nathan's GBW RS20. Chris Bell's got a few, right? CF7 GE 70 tonner SW1 and N scale. Man, there is a long list here. Here's a good one, GP39-2R.
Yep.
Let's see. Bradley Ogden says, any GE Super 7s. And the list goes on and on and on. Oh, man. Fun stuff tonight coming from the section crew. Okay, so we got 130 people here tonight. We just got through one of our oldest segments, hashtag not sponsored.
I do have a couple. I have a couple myself.
You do?
I do.
Oh, I thought you were just sitting on your hands over there.
No.
Oh, well, then
one of them would be one of them is a GP28, EMD GP28.
Yeah,
fairly easy to do. Just retooling the top of the roof for a GP35. The rest of it is exactly identical. And then I would really like to see another, like an RS12.
Really?
A Baldwin RS12 come out. Specifically for those that are in like northern Wisconsin area who want to model the ELS, who had a boatload of those things. It would really, especially in Central Oregon and Pacific, the yellow with the
yellow ones,
lettering.
right?
Yep, the yellow with the green lettering. Those are really kind of classic and really kind of neat. And then what I would like to see somebody do is come out with a series of SW1200s for logging railroads, like Weyerhaeuser and Simpson and some of these places out, because those were not exactly your typical switch engines. I mean, they always had, like, the air tanks were up on top, and they were not exactly beautiful, so yeah, those are just kind of some of the ones that I was kind of thinking about. I have a few more, but we can move on. So
yeah, those are, I mean, you could pick just about anything that's sitting in the Escanaba Lake Superior lot.
Right.
All those old Baldwins and
Elkos. Yeah. I mean, just pick one and it's, so. Yeah,
beautiful. All right, Mike, are you ready for the slots this evening?
Sure am.
You sure is. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our first commercial break here, and we'll cue up the Greasy Meat Hands band to introduce our new segment, or not new, next segment, the short line of the show. Sit tight. All right, section crew, it is time for the short line of the show. And for those of you who are new to the podcast, short line of the show is where Mike does quite a bit of research on a short line that's unaffiliated with the conglomerate. And we're focusing on the United States and Canada. And unoriginally, we are going through the United States alphabetically. And what is the great state that we're in this evening? Aside from denial,
State of denial, yeah.
We're in the state of denial. What state are we in tonight, Mike?
We're in Missouri. And
Missouri.
Yeah, Missouri. I don't understand that, but I mean, hey, whatever. So, okay, now caveat. The original railroad I was going to do was going to be Manufacturers Railway. That railroad is mind-blowingly interesting. Okay, it is small. It is compact. It is really difficult to try to figure out. So when I was down at the St. Louis RPM, part of the reason why I'm not doing Manufacturers Railway is because I picked up this book to do some research. And if you want to know some stuff about the Manufacturers Railway, this is the Terminal Railroad Association of St. Louis. I believe this is their 2019 annual. And the whole book is on the MRS. Really? And this book is phenomenal. I mean, it tells you history. I mean, it goes back to when the Manufacturers Railway was owned by Anheuser-Busch. If people didn't know, and it was basically built for them. And this book is like that Bible. And I was just found it too difficult to try to extract the information that I needed to from here. Plus, with what was on the lack of stuff that's on the internet, there's a lot of pictures, but not a lot of information. Sure. So I decided I had somebody reach out to me and brought up the railroad we're going to do tonight. And that railroad is... Here we go. I got it on. No, wait a minute. I got to do it this way.
Beautiful. Just like the old days, Mike.
Just like the old days. Well, I never learned. Let's see.
Mike finds another rabbit hole.
I did. Let's see here. Why am I not picking this all up?
Can't know. It goes back to the technical issues that you had earlier this evening. But I do have something to say to Split Rock, just so you guys are aware. Split Rock, comment here. The second section podcast is not responsible or liable for any harm that may come to you from any comments that are made here in the chat this evening.
Okay, now I got it. All right, are you ready?
Yeah, let's rip.
We are going to the Columbia Terminal Railroad.
Columbia Terminal Railroad.
Also known as the Colt.
Colt.
Yes. Yeah, Colt. Now, a little bit of a history with this railroad.
Okay.
It's I'll go down to here.
The Colt, baby.
What's that?
Randy Timmerman. Colt, baby.
Colt, baby. I got a lot of information from a gentleman by the name of Matthew Sabbath. He's actually the locomotive engineer that has worked for this railroad for forever. And he offered up all sorts of information about the history and everything. This railroad is originally a former Wabash branch line.
Really?
Yeah, and back in the mid 80s, like the Norfolk Southern was going to, at the time, the NS was going to abandon it. And so the city of Columbia wanted to maintain their rail service that they had for the customers there. And they were looking and looking and looking and looking for people to try to like operate this line. And what ended up happening is, and I'm basically paraphrasing all of this right now, is basically what happened was the city of Columbia said, well, nobody else wants to step up to the plate. We'll just do it ourselves.
Really?
Yeah. So the people that work for the Columbia terminal are actually employees of the city of Columbia. And so it's owned by the city of Columbia and operates between Columbia, Missouri, and Centralia, Missouri, and goes through the town of Hallsville. And it's really, really interesting. It's about 21 miles, 21 and a half, 21.7 miles long. And they interchange at Centralia with the Missouri, with the Norfolk Southern. And their operations, like you can see right here, it said it started in 1987. And they started with 3 employees and 1 locomotive. And the first year, they had 602 carloads of freight. Their first year. Now they run 1,500 to 2,500 carloads per year, which is phenomenal, really, for a little tiny little railroad like this.
For 21 miles?
For a 21-mile railroad, we're putting that much, that's picking them up and putting them down right there, and they've carried products like they used to carry coal, but the power company in Columbia has since stopped burning coal. So that really took a big chunk of the carloads away from them for a little while, but they've kind of made up for it. But basically they coal, plastic, wax, steel, lumber, scrap paper, grain, regular like roll paper. I'm not sure what stearic acid, fertilizer, wallboard, brick, vegetable oil, and machinery. That's some of the stuff that these guys carry or have carried. Little bit of everything, yeah. And as we're going to see here in a little bit, at one point, there's a story behind it, and I don't know the story because he said that's worth an entire email onto itself, as he said. So he goes,
follow-up coming?
There may be a follow-up to this, but I at one time, they were set up to unload auto racks.
Really?
Yeah, and I'll show you that.
The big ones.
Yeah, the big ones. Yeah, big ones. So Columbia is smack in the middle of the state of Missouri, in either direction from St. Louis or Kansas City. It's 2 hours from both, right on the same highway, right on I-70. You got to go through Columbia to get to either one of them. So
if you're going east-west.
If you're going east-west, north-south, I just picked, the 2 large, 2 big cities in Missouri, and boy, did that ever turn out okay. So I did play around with, some of these alternative routes. You're better off just going straight, but it's very easy to get to. It's Columbia, Missouri is easy to get to. So, I mean, if anybody is thinking about going out there, because I certainly am, this railroad is now on my list of railroads I want to go and railfan.
Sure.
Yeah. So, now normally at this point, I'll go through motive power and all this other stuff. I'm taking a little twist, and I'm going to go industry by industry, what each of them does. That's what we're going to do on this one today. So the first one is Mid-Cities Lumber. Got it? So as you can
Got it.
see, I've extracted these. I've extracted these from Google Maps and kind of made a little thing out of them. They get lumber and OSB. And if you look real close, you can see right here, there's 2 cars spotted. Here is their one of their 2 locomotives that they have. But if you look really, really close, there's nowhere for me to get a street view of this. And I forgot to ask Matthew about this, but it looks like there's a 3rd flat right here that kind of maybe under an overhang or
Inside
almost
the building, maybe?
inside the building or something, possibly.
Sure.
So, 2 to 3 lumber flats. And I'm going to see if you guys can pick up on something that makes this a railroad that screams shelf layout. Okay. So try to pay kind of close attention to the things that I'm showing you. All right. So we're all good with Mid-Cities Lumber.
All right.
Honeywell Railchem. Yeah. Nice little tank. They've got tank cars for this place all over the place. I mean, it really is. This railroad has a ton of tank cars that they handle. As you can see, it holds up to about 7 cars. Really, if you really compare it to the footprint of the lumber company, this is kind of small. This isn't that big of a place. And they bring in fatty acid and paraffin wax. That's what they bring in. What they manufacture, I'm not 100% sure, but it's stuff. Things that need fatty acid and paraffin wax, right?
Right.
So here you have a couple of interesting things. Right here, you have this is a long siding, and here you have a crossover in the middle of the siding. This actually goes off to this goes off to a different industry that we're going to cover here in a minute, I believe. Can't remember how my map is set up. So, but it's really interesting. The track work on it is really, really interesting. So this is the place. JM
Eagle.
Yeah,
Okay.
isn't that kind of a cool name for it?
Yeah.
JM Eagle. Here you have the start of that siding. Here's where, this here, right here is the switch for right here. And they get powdered resin in. So basically plastic. It's a plastics plant. So again, building and structure, not that big, right? But there's a lot of really cool elements at JM Eagle, I believe, was it Walters that came out with in one of their cornerstone buildings that had a plastics plant? Was that one of them?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So you could double up a couple of those and maybe make something along this lines with all the silos in it and the tubing and the piping and everything else like that runs along. And the same with here. You have all the unloading areas for the tank cars.
Yeah, you could easily use Walther's stuff to get started and make that tank unloading platform there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, they also opened their own transload facility.
Ooh.
This is where things get kind of interesting. Taking a drink, sorry.
No, that's all right.
So as you can see, there's a bunch of tank cars here, right? Well, that doesn't mean much. They're just storing them there. These are kind of tank cars that are there.
A yellow platform there. It looks like they might do something with them.
Yeah. Do you know what that yellow platform is?
No, I have no idea.
That is an automobile unloading ramp.
Shut the front door.
There is a video on YouTube where the city of Columbia and the Colt Railroad announced that they have come together to start doing this. There is a video on YouTube showing them beginning to unload automobiles from this facility right here. Yep. It is really, really neat. Now, they don't do it anymore. Like I said, yeah, I know. But who's to say if you wanted to model it, who's to say you couldn't?
Yeah.
Right?
It's your railroad, right?
It's your railroad. Now, inside this right now, they hold inside the building. They're unloading coil cars. A lot of times, there's cars of coil steel and stuff like that are going in there. They've done lumber. I know they've unloaded box cars in there at one point. I mean, it's a transload facility. So in reality, you could almost have anything coming in and out of here at one point. It's your world is really wide open. So at Google Street View, the Street View shows this passenger train sitting here.
What is this?
This is the former dinner train that used to run on this line. And we'll get into that a little bit. So now let's see. Let's recap a little bit here.
Okay.
Old Wabash. 21 miles.
21 miles.
Crap load full of cars.
Diversity of cars and rolling stock.
Diversity of cars. Passenger trains. Is this not maybe one of the most perfect little short line railroads ever known to man for modeling?
Yeah, I mean, you could essentially have it all.
You could, and be okay with the way it all works out, right?
Yeah, right.
So we're going to get into this passenger train.
Oh man, I'm excited.
Yeah, we're going to get it. It is no longer around. We'll get into reasons why a little later.
Okay.
Now, this is a place that he did not give me any place. Apparently, they must not do this, but I saw this one and I thought it was kind of a neat. It's I'm assuming it's pronounced Rue Materials. This stub track it looks like it only holds one car. It could have been a gon. It could be an open hopper. I'm not sure what it is, but if you're trying to model this, you have, you could pretty much almost do anything. Again, it could be like a sand place. I don't know what it actually is, but it really kind of neat, right?
Yeah.
So then, now that's Columbia. Those are all the industries that they serve, every one of them. Did you pick up on why I said this is perfect for shelf layout?
Boy, I got my thoughts here, but
go ahead, shoot. What would you think?
No. Well, it just looking from the way the track is set up, right? It looks like a shelf layout track diagram. You got a runaround here, a spur track there, the main line here, spots for a handful of cars. You don't need, these enormous areas for, hundreds of cars. There's no yard.
Right.
I'm telling you this, and it all looks like you're going, if I sense the theme here, linearly through the railroad, right?
Yes.
It all makes sense, right? It all lines up. The main line looks like it's oriented the same way in each of the pictures.
Yep, absolutely. So if you were to set up your aisleway.
Did I pass the test?
Yeah, actually, absolutely.
Yeah.
So if you were to set up your aisleway to the left of this main line, every one of these industries, with the exception of the transload, could be a wall flat.
Oh, cool.
Shallow relief. Every single one of these. If you look at the way I'm pointing at the screen, like you can see what I'm pointing at.
Yeah, so, I'm right there with you, man.
So right here, if you look at right here, you could have this as a shallow relief. You could do this, a small little lumber, and get the feel of a lumber company.
So
right here,
Mike,
yeah.
We had a question here from CP368 Productions.
Go ahead.
What was the last industry that you had mentioned there, Mike?
Wrong direction. Sorry. REW Materials, REW Materials, according to what this little thing right here says. Not 100% sure what they do, but here again, even if they don't, look at what you got right here. You have a water tower. How cool is that? You have a water tower sitting right there.
You see them everywhere.
They're all over the place.
Yeah.
But here you have, like, this would be your only little tough thing that you'd have to figure out how to do. And you could actually do this as like a drop down, to where if you weren't operating the layout, it could be like a module where you kind of you slide it underneath the layout. And when you want to go and operate, you kind of pull it out and you set it up and you put it on its own legs and you have it like that. You could do it like that. But all the rest of these are all shallow relief. Same with this. Shallow relief. You could do all of them and they're all facing the same direction. Yeah. All this, with the exception of this one, all the switches are in the same direction.
Really cool.
Now, there's a siding just outside of town called Etta Siding. It holds 40 cars. Okay. This right here is the south end. And then the middle, and then right in the middle of it, you got another cool water tower. So, and it's a different style. It's kind of that older style with all the pedals. It's not that, what is it, the golf ball on a tee type style? What do they call that? Right. Is that right?
I don't know. I'm not a water tower.
I'm not a water tower guy. Either am I. But this one has got several different legs to it. It holds, like I said, holds about 40 cars. Yeah. And that's all they use this for, like, basically for switching cars that they get in for, like, the that chemical plant and stuff like that, or whatever they need to switch. This is basically where they do it.
Sure.
Hallsville is a little 2-track stub tracks.
Oh, that's neat.
And the one goes into this small little building here. Yeah. And all it is for section. They keep all their maintenance away equipment here, and that's all that is in this town. Is just little maintenance away servicing and stuff like that. And it's just, what a cool little detail to have on your layout that is, in all honesty, overlooked a lot of times, right? We always focus so much on the trains. We never think about the people and the things that are required in order to make the trains stay on the track and maintain the speeds and all that stuff, right?
Yeah. And I mean, and they're fun little, and usually fun, intricate models to either build or display, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And, they don't have to be part of the operation per se, but man, you could really draw a lot of visual interest to your layout by having something like that set up.
Yeah, like you say, what a good talking point, and,
yeah, right.
and on top of that, you might be able to utilize something like this because you might get a gondola full of new ties, or a flat car of some new rail, or some rail that you have to put it someplace. Well, this would be a good place to on and offload it.
There you go. That's a good point. Yeah.
So, you could actually be putting a car during an operating session. You could put a car here, I'll figure out how to operate this thing eventually.
You're doing great. On par with the rest of the show.
Thanks. Yeah. Okay. Now we're almost to Centralia.
Okay.
And the thing is this is a spur that's called Gano Spur. And at one time it went a little further. It holds about 40 cars, and it's just a stub. Again, it's just a place for them to store cars. And I think I counted like 25 cars or something like that sitting here at one time, or 25 or 30 cars sitting here right now on Google Maps. So, and that's all it is it's just a stub that they just put stuff when they need to put stuff. That there's really nothing more to it, but it's stub ended. So,
Mhm.
which is really interesting because most of the time people don't usually think about using stub tracks. They want everything double-ended, right? So, I mean,
Right.
but then at Centralia. Oh, do you have?
I was just going to say it adds to the operation, a bit not to have runarounds everywhere. And, it almost becomes like a chess match,
Right.
having to dig cars out. So you may not have let's say, a monstrosity of a layout, but adding that operational, I guess, complexity, right? It'll
Yeah.
make up for the size of the railroad by having to do complicated switch moves.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, you can really elongate a session by having to. You might have to stop and dig out a couple of cars out of here to take back to wherever, and uh, you know, or stop and set a bunch of stuff out here.
And Randy's absolutely right. Plenty of space to store your tangent cars.
There you have it.
Hashtag not sponsored.
Absolutely. So at Centralia, this is kind of neat the way they do this. Okay, so there's typically the way it sounds is that they go down one side of the Y, depending. Okay, there's a job. Man, I wish I would have queued this up. He told me exactly the name of the train that they meet, and how the operation worked here. Okay, so basically what they do is they meet a train from the NS, one of the locals, and and it leaves cars either on the Y or off to the right, down this way more, is a little 2-track yard. And each one of those tracks maybe holds 10 or 15 cars. So their train will either be down in that area or right here on one of the two legs of the Y, depending on where they end up. And they come in and they put their train wherever they need to in order to be able to get back out onto their track and go down and grab their cars and they're here for a little while getting things squared away. But it's a really neat little operation to use a Y and like 1 or 2 tracks as an interchange with a Class 1 railroad. I know, like over by us, Casco Junction on the Green Bay and Western was similar to this with the Anapee and Western. It was kind of a similar type of thing where there was a Y and there was like 1 or 2 other tracks other than the main line. And so it really is kind of a neat little deal. Whether or not modeling wise you'd be able to do this, that would be kind of up to the modeler depending on how much they want to do. But I mean, you could always cut yourself short of the Y and just go into staging. And
there you go.
And go into a hidden staging area or something, and cars in, cars out. You know what I mean?
So Tom Klamoski's been watching this evening and making comments. You could essentially just go into staging in another room, just like on his Georgia Northeastern.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because he has that like cassette thing that he uses, right?
In the other room. Yeah, exactly. And he had also solved the conundrum of the transload facility by putting a peninsula out there as well. So it was just kind of interesting to see. And there on the Y too, you could have your continuous run as one leg of it. So
you could.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really cool. Thanks, Tom. Those are great points.
Good tips from Tom.
Yeah, absolutely. When does he not have a good tip?
Just honestly. Be a segment on its own. Tips from Tom.
Tips
Tom's
from
tips.
Tom's tips. Yeah. Tips from Tom's yeah, whatever. Okay.
We'll think on it. We'll get the Greasy Meat Hands band working on the intro.
Yeah, right. Okay. Now let's get it down to what everybody wants to know.
They want to see the trains, Mike.
They want to see the
with
train.
the history. They want to see the
stuff.
train.
I know. I'm sorry. I thought I'd try something different.
No,
okay.
It was great. This is really great.
Okay, so they run Monday through Friday, but typically only. Okay, wait a minute. They work Monday through Friday, but the train only runs 2 or 3 days a week.
Okay.
The other days the crews do like paperwork. They might get out and patrol the track. They might be out there doing some light maintenance. Anything like a major project is contracted out. There's
Okay.
Maintenance away contractors all around the country. They have somebody come in and do like a major thing. That's what they end up kind of, but any kind of light maintenance, switch servicing and things like that. That's what these guys will do when they're not running the train. So these guys they've got to wear a lot of different hats, they're short. It's a short line. So, that's just the way short line life is. Right.
Sure.
So, as a typical rule, they will switch out if they need to. They'll switch out a couple of customers in Columbia right away in the morning, and then they'll head for Centralia. Once they get to Centralia, they make their interchange with the NS, and when they on their way back, then they go and they spot up the customers that they've brought cars back for, if need be, like the lumber companies and stuff like that. And it makes sense because the way everything is oriented, they wouldn't have to run around anything that way because they can do all the runaround moves on the Y. And
there you go. Yeah. There you go.
And a lot of times they're like short hood going to Centralia and long hood going back. Every video that I've seen so far, that's exactly the way it is. So they try to keep the engine facing in a certain direction. So there's only the one train, so it doesn't get any more basic than that, really. Like I said, this screams shelf layout like you wouldn't believe. Here's their power. They still use both of these locomotives. Now, the Columbia terminal is the official name, but everybody calls it Colt. Now their switch engine, which is their engine that they got first, number 1, SW1200. It's a former Bauxite and Northern Railway, number 11, and was originally built for the Mopac in 1954. So, and it's still providing service. That's what is so amazing about those first generation EMDs. Man, I just, the sights and sounds of them are just amazing. And they are just workhorses, every one of them.
I think the SW1200 is just a cool locomotive in general.
It is. That whole design, that whole SW series, from like the 600, the 8, the 900, the 1200, the SW9, the SW7, that whole series, NW2s, that whole thing is just a really neat looking switch engine series, if you ask me.
What's that on top of the cab? Is that a cat carrier?
It could be. Sure. I don't think your cat would really like it.
Bring your pet to work today?
Yeah, bring your pet to work today. Yeah, that's an air conditioning unit.
Okay.
Yep. It looks kind of like one that you would have on top of your camper. But
yeah.
Yeah, but that's what that is that's an air conditioning unit.
Okay.
So, and then they also run, and this is pretty much their daily driver, I guess, is a former Santa Fe GP7U, number 2001, in this beautiful rendition of a Wabash paint scheme. Yeah, isn't that something?
That's really cool.
They really have like stayed true to the heritage of the line as best as they could. They really Wabash everything, and you'll see a little more of that here in a little bit. But this one worked on the BNSF. It was originally a Santa Fe 2705 GP7, and it was rebuilt in right around 78 or 79 by the Santa Fe into a GP7U. And you can find these GP7Us all over the place. And somebody came out with them. Was it Athearn that came out with the GP7U?
Athearn has those, right?
Yeah. So they did not come out with this one, but they came out with a whole boatload full of them. At least I don't think they came out with this one. It would be kind of odd for them to have come out with this only one locomotive. But it's really, really kind of neat. All right. Here's a few more pictures of the SW1 or SW1200. I'm sorry, number 1. And you can see this is like kind of pretty much what the original paint scheme looked like. A little darker blue and more of a, what do you call that? Like a cream color almost, instead of it's not really yellow. It's not white. Kind of, sure.
Yeah, I get what you're going for there. A light yellow or maybe like a cream color. You could call it that, off-white.
Yeah, and if you look real close, it's got a nice strobe light here.
There you go.
The strobe light is still on, and after the ditch lights have come on, have been applied. So here's an extra. A lot of railroads have taken those off. Well, here they still have it on. So kind of neat little feature that, extra little lighting thing, a couple, an extra LED for you and resistor to throw into the guts of the engine for you.
Yeah, I mean, no problem.
Yeah, right? Easy peasy. Here's a handful of pictures for just kind of showcasing the paint scheme on the GP7U.
Oh, look at the roof.
Yeah.
On the cab.
The roof is white. The roof is white.
And
they did kind of remember the WSOR, Wisconsin Southern? If you looked at the front of their cab, they had that little angle down to get the gray stripe to kind of.
Yeah.
Remember that?
They kind of fudged it a little bit.
Yeah, they didn't do that with the yellow on this, but there's a definite. They definitely dropped it down because it's at this level all the way across here, and then here they drop it right down so that they can get it, right onto the nose. I'm not sure if that's the way the Wabashes were, but I'd be willing to bet it's pretty close. Here's a couple of action shots. This is coming back from Centralia, obviously long hood forward. Really kind of neat. And here you can see, tank cars, a coil car, and a lumber car, which is pretty typical for these guys. Here they're heading to Centralia from Columbia, and if you really want to have a shelf layout that is really kind of fun to model and to operate, you don't need to have 30 car trains in order to do it. I mean, no,
you don't.
What is this? 5 cars here, and here they've got 6. So, an engine and 6 cars. They do have a former Southern Caboose, and I had a picture of it and I forgot to put it in here, but they don't use it very often. And it's kind of tucked back in the at the very end of the one of the transload facility tracks. It's just sitting there, but it still says Southern on it. It's a red Caboose, a red bay window Caboose, kind of neat. Now, but everybody's probably asking, the dinner train. It was called the Columbia Star Dinner Train, and it ran from 2011 to 2014. And it basically consisted of a couple of coaches. There's a baggage car in the middle, and I believe it's a couple coaches on the other end. So it's like 2 coaches, a baggage car, and 2 coaches. Where the dinner train part comes into it, I'm not 100% sure. Not a whole lot of information out there on the operations of this. But all I do know is with talking with Mr. Sabbath is the fact that there were some financial issues regarding the train as time went on, and it basically kind of caused it to shut down. So now, modeling wise though, how cool is this?
Yeah.
I mean, for a little dinner train, who'd have thought that you'd be able to have a dinner train on a little tiny railroad like that, and it's really kind of a neat concept. And I kind of, starting the older I'm getting, the more I'm looking for ways to kind of integrate passenger stuff into what I do. And I'm still struggling with that with my layout, but I'll figure something out. But it's how neat, what a neat concept, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so in 2012, when the NS came out with the Wabash painted SD70 Ace,
the Heritage unit,
they hooked up with the Columbia Star Dinner Train folks and did these photo shoots and photo run in Centralia. And how neat is that?
Dang.
Right?
Boy, did NS just nail the paint scheme.
I know. The only question I have is which gray is correct. I'm thinking the one the NS has is closer to right. Because this has got a little bit more blue to it. You know what I mean? Whereas this looks not as blue. And in this picture here, you can really see the difference. See how the F7 looks a little bit more on the blue gray side, and then you have almost a regular gray on the top of the SD70.
Yeah.
It's just really kind of neat. Regardless, it really, really looks phenomenal.
Boy, that's sharp.
Isn't it? That is so cool, right? It's just something. When I stumbled across this, I'm like, oh boy, I got to include this. This is so cool.
Yeah, that's really awesome.
So this railroad has been featured in Trains magazine in the September 2018 issue.
I've seen a couple of comments in the chat this evening mentioning that.
Yeah. And I want to try to get my hands on this copy because I've actually kind of fallen in love with this little railroad. This is this is right up my alley when it comes to what I think about railroading and how I think about railroading. Class 1s are great. They're good for hauling things from point A to point B. But if you want to really dig your heels in and find out exactly what goes on in these small towns and stuff, these railroads like this are where it's at. Mm-hmm. Not to take away from regionals and stuff like that either. I mean, they're awesome too, but these little guys like this are really what helps keep things going in towns and stuff like that. And it's just really, really neat. So they have got a presence.
Really?
Every one of these platforms. I could have made this a 3-hour presentation on the Colt. Easily. You go to YouTube, there's a ton of videos on YouTube. They've got a Facebook presence. Flickr, they're all over Flickr. Railroad Picture Archives. What now?
I just naughty thought popped into my head with Flickr.
Oh God, what?
Just giving a person the bird. But so there's a classic Andy no value added comment.
Oh, that's perfect.
Sorry, sorry, section crew.
but even on Pinterest, if you look up Columbia Terminal Railroad, for your best interest, do not put Colt into it unless you want to look at horses, because that's all that'll show up. Trust me. Ask, as Thomas Gager says, ask me how I know. So, yeah, it's really in local photos, and then also I forgot to add one other one. It's railroadphotos.net. Is that what it is? Is that the other one?
It's the one where if you type in the Google search wrong, you don't go to railroadpicturearchives.net.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
the other one.
The other one. Yeah, they've got a presence on there too. It is without a doubt, for a small little railroad, really covered very well. And there's, like I said, there's a lot of videos on YouTube. Quite a few videos on YouTube, including, like I said earlier, including some things talking about industry openings and all sorts of different things from like news agencies and stuff like that. It's really kind of neat. So that right there is our short line of the show. Now, guess where we go next time?
Missouri. So we're in Missouri now.
Yeah.
Begins with M. It's got to begin with M.
Montana.
I was going to say Montana.
Montana is next. They are next. And good luck to me finding a short line to go and do up there. I actually already have, with a little bit of help from someone already. So I've pretty much already narrowed down what I'm going to be doing. So it's really going to be, and that's a kind of a neat railroad. So Montana is next, yeah, that's your short line of the show, man.
Hot damn, Mike, that was fun. That was really good.
Thanks. I owe Matthew Sabbath like a ton of thanks.
Yeah.
He reached out. I reached out and got a hold of him because somebody told me about him, and I talked to him, and he was really, really kind, and he sent me email after email after email about the railroad. Come to find out, he's kind of chief cook and bottle washer for the place, and
really,
these guys are city employees, but yet they fall under the FRA rules and guidelines and hours of service and all that kind of stuff. So it's really, really neat. It's a really neat operation. If you get out in central Missouri, go check them out. It's really kind of a cool little place. You won't regret it.
So that brings up a good little segue to our email address for all those. We have been getting email comments of short lines to do. If you want to drop us a line, say hello, make a comment about the show, what you like, what you don't like, wander on over to the second section podcast at gmail.com. Send us a note. We'll be sure to get back to you. And if you have a short line or something interesting, or you just want to share some good old model railroad or railroad related stuff, we're always up for it. So hit us up there. And then also hit us up on Facebook if you want to join a really awesome community of model railroaders and railroaders alike. Second Section Podcast on Facebook. Come join the group. Great community. Lots of good questions getting asked. Lots of good help being offered up. So
I want to address something that Thomas Gager just asked on that Split Rock there. I want to address this. I've been asked this several times now by quite a few people about whether or not I am going to do something, like if all the short line of the shows are current, or if they're going to be, if I, can do some historical ones. Now, the plan is I will be doing some historical short lines in time. I'm trying right now to do as many as I can that are still able to be gone out and shot and still around and still have like an actual physical presence. but that's not to say that if I come up with a state that I don't have something really, like when we did Hawaii, we did all the sugarcane railroads, right? We did kind of a whole state type of thing. None of those are operating anymore. So the short answer is yes, I can do some historical short lines, but I would like, what I'm trying to do right now is to keep them as current as possible. So that way, if you are in an area that you've seen one of the short line of the shows, you can go and try to capture some, it might click, kind of like a diners, drive-ins, and dives type of thing.
That's a really good way to put it. Yeah.
You kind of, you see one of those, you see that show and you go to Springfield, Missouri or someplace or Springfield, Illinois, and hey, I remember seeing this place. Let's go here. And you go in there, and that's the thing, so I'm trying to do that. Doesn't mean that I won't do anything historical, because I do. And I will be doing Canada, and I will be doing historical places. And eventually I will be doing Genesee and Wyoming and Patriot Rail and some of these places like that also. Yep.
Okay. But
you gotta remember, there's a lot of railroads in the United States. I can only do one per show. So,
No, I thought it was fantastic.
So,
yeah.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
No, and so did the section crew this evening. A lot of fantastic.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, and thank you to everybody that provides any information, because it's, I'm gonna should I let the cat out of the bag for my next one?
No. We got to keep everyone in suspense.
Okay,
that's what they want.
Montana. Anybody that knows anything about Montana shortline railroads, just throw it out.
There you go.
Anaconda and Pacific. That one was on the short list, but it's owned by Patriot Rail now, I believe.
Oh, sad day.
Yeah, it was a Raris railway at one point.
So we're getting a lot of great feedback here, and I do appreciate that. For those who tuned in this evening, we're an hour and a half in, got 106 people still live on the stream. If you haven't yet, hit that like button for us. That just shows support for the show, and you like what we're offering up tonight. And if you guys haven't subscribed yet to the channel, make sure you subscribe, because you get notifications. I put out community posts every now and then about what's going on. And you can stay up to date with what's going on with your friends over at the second section. So really great job, Mike. Let's keep the show, the Mike Ostertag show going this evening. And there was a comment before we move on, one last thing. Tom from Split Rocks says the Colt is almost like a real life Farland terminal.
It is.
And I think that was a really great observation. So
I had mentioned that to you before we went on the air. I'm like, this is like a real life Farland terminal. Yeah. It's like, holy cow.
In the pre-show this evening, there was a lot of enthusiasm for this railroad. Let's just put it that way. So
yeah, I couldn't believe it.
So this is a great segue, though, right? So
right.
the short line of the show, looking at a lot of real pictures and a lot of content out on the internet on how to essentially improve or level up your modeling by being a good rail fan. So. Yeah. Mike, you are a accomplished picture taker of trains. I've seen some of your work. I've been out in the field with you while we rail fanning before.
Sorry.
Like how people would pay folks to take them fishing, like fishing guides.
Yeah.
You could be a rail fan guide. For sure.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
There's no pressure now, is there?
No, there's not. There's not.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. It's really, to me, when I go out and I rail fan, I have gotten to the point where, okay, this is going to sound really bad. I think there's 3, maybe 4 levels to a rail fan. And one of the levels is you kind of have the, ooh, hey, look at, there's a pretty boxcar type of guy,
Okay.
and, ooh, hey, look at, there's a train. Ooh, that's awesome. Blah, blah, blah. But not really a whole lot. And then you have the guys that, oh, that's this, and the guys that are really full of information, and they really understand what they're looking at and things like that. Then you have the guys who go out with a purpose and are really out there to say, yeah, to see a train would be really cool, but I'm not here to see a train. I'm here because I need shots of this. I need shots of this structure, or I need to fly my drone so that I can get an overhead shot of the way this track is laid out, because I want to model it like that.
Sure.
Or I want to do that. We all go rail fanning to see trains, but there's different levels to it. Like when I go rail fanning, I always look for the obscure. To coin a phrase from Luke Lemons, is you need a whole lot of the blah to make the odd stand out. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, right.
So you can see how many UP engines in a row, but you're going to notice that CP engine right in the middle of the consist. You're not going to pay any attention to all the other 5 UP engines. You're going to be like, oh, wow, they got a CP unit in the consist. That's what you're going to remember about that train. And now your head is triggered, and you're going to start paying more attention to what else you're going to see on that train, because you never know. Or all of a sudden, one day there was a thing on the virtual rail fan, and where they were coming out of Rochelle, and all they had were flat cars full of John Deere tractors.
Ooh.
I know, it was amazing, and I was so mad that I wasn't there to see it in person. But those are the kind of things that, oh wow, John Deere tractors. Here we have cars full of tractors. It's an odd modeling opportunity that boxcars are boxcars, covered hoppers are covered hoppers, double stacks are double stacks. It's the odd stuff that really gravitates people towards modeling stuff, right?
Yeah, right.
And at least in my opinion. So when I go out modeling or rail fanning, that's kind of one of the things. A good example is this last time I went out. I went out and I flew my drone. It had been sitting out there for a little while, but the Escanaba and Lake Superior snowplow was sitting out in the yard in Crivets right next to the road, right? That goes right straight through the middle of the yard. I went and I pulled out there, and I went and I flew for almost an hour. I went through 2 batteries of my drone, and I took like 75 photos of that snowplow from all sorts of angles and all sorts of different details. I flew close to details, got pictures for. I did that so I have the information, roof shots, the whole 9 yards. On the way back, matter of fact, I think I may have been. I don't know if I was going to come down by you or I was going to come down and try to get the Oshkosh job, going through Ripon and stuff like that.
Wisconsin Southern.
Wisconsin Southern. So I was going to try catching that, and then possibly go down to Columbus to catch the CP. I figured, well, I got time. I'm up here. Instead, I ended up going to Marinette, Menominee, Wisconsin, and I hung out, and I got to meet the crew. I got to take some photos that I had never been able to get before. I was able to, do some really, really cool photography that in an area I had never considered rail fanning. And man, am I ever happy I did. And all I did was follow around one SW1200. That's it.
Really?
But I got some really cool ideas for my layout as to what I want, what direction I want things to go, And I posted a bunch of those photos on a bunch of my rail fanning photos on my my Facebook page, on my Farland Terminal page.
Okay.
Matter of fact,
I think,
wonder, should I pull that up, do you think?
I think everyone would like to see more train photos. Anyone here want to see more train photos, especially what Mike is talking about? If you guys haven't seen them already, let us know in the chat this evening.
All right. Well, here, how about if I share my screen here quick?
Oh, it's too late. You guys are going to get it anyway.
You're getting it anyway. Yep.
Randy Timmerman said yes, so we can always go back to him.
All right. How's that look? You got it?
That looks great. Yeah.
Okay. So this is Crivets, Wisconsin. Here's the snowplow that I was taking photos of.
That's amazing. And
this is just, I like the green ballast, to be honest with you.
Yeah, like beautiful green ballast in Wisconsin.
Yeah, there was the ELS. This is ELS green, by the way.
So the ELS, that's the Escanaba and Lake Superior.
Lake Superior, yes. Okay. Now this line right here off to the right, that is the, what would it be? The east, no. This is the south leg of the Y that would head towards Marinette, Menominee. This line actually only goes this way, maybe about, I'm not sure how far past Highway 141 it goes, because back in this neck of the woods is the highway. And past that, it's out of service from there to basically Marinette. It's in rough shape. But this is the main line that goes north to Channing and up into Iron Mountain. And so I just thought this, hey, I've never taken this shot before. I got a drone. Why not? So I took this shot. Now, here's a picture of the snowplow that I took. This is a home-built snowplow based off of a PS1 40-foot PS1 boxcar. It's actually kind of neat. Milwaukee. Oh, go ahead.
So before we move any further, can we go back?
Yeah.
Just 1 second here. So, like, for example, you used your drone to get this shot, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And so obviously a drone is a tool to have in your toolbox as a rail fan. But,
yep.
If you were going to use your drone to get information or to get railroad data, as someone said earlier in the chat, what are you looking to see by using your drone? What are the things that you want to use to improve your modeling?
The most elusive thing that modelers have are roof shot, or that they fail to be able to acquire, are roof shots. Roof shots. A drone is amazing for getting those, obviously, since you can go up as high as like 400 feet is all the higher you should go per the FAA. But now, like for here, boy, I wonder if I don't know if I downloaded them yet into here, but I took 70 some photos of of this, and I took probably 20 photos of nothing but the roof on this right here. And I've started flying like right in here, right in this area. And I would go maybe 10 feet, take a photo, go 10 feet, take a photo, go 10 feet, take a photo. So I could go and get in detail every single inch of the roof of that piece of equipment. You could do the same thing for I could have done the same thing over here at the depot, gone and gotten all the roof shots for the depot and things of that nature. I didn't want to do that because this is close to the road. I can get up and out of there in a hurry. I was doing this. I was flying from the street, believe it or not. So I was on a public road. And so I was not on the railroad property where I was standing. As a matter of fact, I was actually in a parking lot of a tavern across the street also is where I parked. And I did not want to go and start buzzing around here because this is during the week. So I didn't know who was going to be floating around, and so I just did not want to take that chance and do that. Wanted to be respectful of people that work there, and that's it. And so, and that's a big thing too, is when you're out rail fanning trying to get these information, be respectful. This is a business, and it's a very dangerous business, and these guys, a lot of times, even on some short line railroads, they don't want rail fans floating around their property, because rail fans, a lot of time, they're a liability. If something happens, they get hurt. There's someplace they shouldn't be. Or something happens. You have to be smart, right? You have to be smart about it. So yeah. So information wise, like let's see here. Okay, so like this. Here you have a twin seal beam headlight right here.
Yep.
Inside of what looks like an old steam engine head. It's to create, and you can see the angle that you need, and you can see this. Other things you could take away from this is the way the weathering on the depot is.
Yeah, right.
And how the weathering up underneath. We've had this before where we've talked about looking beyond the photo.
Right.
Beyond the subject of what you're looking at. So you could take away all sorts of different things from this photo. This is a side photo. Now you can see that headlight really, really good. The fact that the bay window is angled, which makes sense. I didn't understand that, but this is actually angled. It keeps the snow off. I never would have thought of that. It's just certain things you can really start to take a look at going and building your models based off of things like that.
Takes a lot of the guesswork out of it, doesn't it?
It does. And you can come back to your workbench and go through your photos that you just took that day on. Like, I always tend to take a bunch of rapid fire stuff. I'm always doing. I click the shutter and I get 4 of the same thing, which I should probably change that, but then I don't bother. But it's
laziness has its perks, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. So, but you could come back and take a look at things and start looking at like all sorts of different aspects of, okay, like the striping. Okay, this is concave. There's an indentation here for the wing to come out, and these are set up, but then there's this box that the wing wraps around, and then these hinges come out of that. So this is indented. And if I had a shot from the other way, you would see that this is indented the same distance as this is. Well, this lightning strike, the yellow, comes right to the edge of that indentation. Well, right there, now I've got a point to be able to when I go to decal, I have a point of reference to be able to start looking at like where I want to set things up. There are places like this ladder right here, right through the yellow stripe goes right through that ladder, right through almost the middle of the windows. It's looking at their photos and going back and seeing what you can do with your models is amazing.
So that's another thing, right? Is breaking them down. But yeah, go ahead to your next one here.
Okay, so here's the ELS job coming. This is their Menominee. And yes, the switch engine was designed like this. It was built like this on purpose. It was built for the Reserve Mining Railroad up in northern Minnesota. It was sold to the ELS, I believe, back in 1987. It was sold to the ELS along with 5 SD9s and a second one of these. This was designed like this specifically so that they could illuminate over the top of the ore cars.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, because the ore cars actually came up to about the top of the hood. So in order to see over the top of those ore cars, this is the way they designed their SW1200, and it came from EMD like this. At least that's all the story I've been told and everything I've ever read about it. But again, here you have high tension power lines all over the place.
Yeah,
really, like a lot of them. And then, you know, your ELS green ballast and really good track work.
it's really beautiful.
That's perfect. Here in this photo, you can kind of see the way that headlight is set up and everything, the plow on the engine. But background photo or a background structure, Menominee wastewater treatment plant. You might want to have this stretch of track. And in order to, you know, we always look to put things like give ourselves a location for what we're modeling, right? Well, there's pretty much no mistaking where you would be if you had this on your model as a background building, you know, as a flat, you know, and then the old wooden crossbuck. That's a metal crossbuck, but old
the post.
Wood post.
So we got to stop, Mike.
Yep.
So there's a tongue-in-cheek comment, but you know, you're a railroader yourself. Chris Holzbach says, hey, so as a railroader yourself, how do you feel about getting a photo drone shot taken?
As long as it's not right in my face, I'm fine. I've actually had guys come to the depot and ask, hey, are you guys going out to Rockwood? Which we go over this big, tall, 72-foot high, 75-foot high steel trestle. And yeah, we're going to go out there. We're going to be out there probably at this time, blah, blah, blah. And I knew who the people were and stuff like that. So I trusted them. And sure enough, we get out there, we're flying out there. We're like flying out there, flying at 10 miles an hour. But, you know, we go out there and I could see where they were. I could see where he was operating. And I looked around. I actually slowed down for him. I slowed down for him. Yeah, because I knew the shots that he was trying to get because it would be the same shots I would want to get. So I kind of did a thing, you know, and at the time we had an engine that kind of smoked a little bit. So I gave it a little smoke, you know, and stuff like that. And I gave him a little bit of a show and stuff. And on the way back, he when we come over the bridge, he was actually pacing me. But I could see the orientation of the camera, and the drone was not into the cab. It was kind of 3/4 up and around, but he was kind of following us as we went over the bridge. It was super cool. As long as you're not trying to get me right in the window and doing stuff like that, I'm okay with it. I'll pretty much work with anybody if I can. But you know, as long as they're being safe and not
within reason.
But yeah, I don't have a problem with drones doing that kind of stuff. Truth be told, I've gone to work after, you know, over the weekends and stuff like that and flown. I've got some pictures of my yard and from the drone that I've flown. You have to be careful though with where you're flying, especially on the job I'm on, because we are in close proximity to an airport. So there are some restrictions. By the airport, right? Yeah, there are some restrictions. So you have to be really careful and cognizant of that. So, but yeah, no, it's great. So now I expect to see a drone in my face tomorrow.
I was gonna say Chris Shooter will be out there with the drone.
Shooter's gonna be out there with a drone.
Yeah, right in your face.
Right in my face. So here's another one. Look at it.
Chris.
Look at what did he say now?
Nothing. I'm.
But here, this picture is really. You get a really nice effect from the water. It was kind of it was a little windy. It was a little breezy, but not bad. So there was just enough of a ripple on the water. Here's a cool effect. You have some really cool details along the shore with some of the like driftwood and some of the things like that, and the marsh grass and stuff. The staining on the look at this, the way the staining coming off of the steel from the bridge. If you look past the train itself, which just looks like a train sitting on a bridge, right? And but there's more to the photo. The varying colors in the trees, the varying different types of green, the dead tree sitting right here.
Stephen N., look at this interesting choice in bridge piers. Look, the difference between the two piers.
Every other one is like that. Every other one is steel. Yeah, I have a photo that will show you that. There it is.
Yeah, look at that.
Every other one is that block, and every other one is a poured concrete one. That's the same.
Can you go back?
Sure. There.
So what's the big takeaway that Luke He's Here Tonight was saying? You got to have a lot of the ordinary to make the extraordinary stand out, right?
Right.
In Wisconsin, on any waterfront, in northern Wisconsin, what do you see there underneath the bridge? Fallen timber in the water.
Yep, absolutely.
And you become numb to it.
Yes, you do.
And that is a beautiful highlight that you could add to any river or water scene that really builds the realism.
And another thing that we have in Wisconsin that I'm not sure, I'll be honest with you, I have never seen this on any other pictures of bridges, unless I've just not paid attention to it. But there's actually foliage growing through the cracks on these bridges here.
John Rose just mentioned that. A small bush growing on a pier.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Right here. So when you go and do your bridges, go out and take the heck with the trains. Just go find a bridge that looks like what you want. And we're going to get into that here in a little bit. But find a bridge that you like and find something that's got some neat detail to it that you feel as if you can accomplish, and which is the key part of it, because not everybody's able to build 72-foot truss spans. You know what I mean? It's some of this stuff is a lot harder to do than even, that there's some modelers out there that are. Ben Groyle is amazing at building bridges.
He's master bridge builder.
Yeah, he is a master bridge builder. But even like this, now here, see, like you have some of the ripple. This is a little further away, but here's one thing that it would be cool as a photo backdrop. This, but look at the sky. But look at the sky. There isn't a cloud in it. So right there, you don't have to have clouds on your backdrop. You don't have to have a photo backdrop. You could just have a fading shade of blue going from dark to light, as it lighter as it gets closer to the horizon. Andy, you and I have actually talked off air about stuff like that, and then you're here again, you have more ripples and stuff like that. This is, I can't remember what industry this is, but there's a small little industry back here. And it looks like a wood,
cyclone.
Like a cyclone type of thing.
Yeah, dust collector.
Yeah, dust collector. Here we have a dam in the background.
You can't say that on air, Mike.
I can. I just did. So I can't say dam I can't say that's a dam.
On the damn podcast. Here we go.
On the damn podcast. But here's another thing. Look at right here. This is just a little outcrop with a couple of trees on it, just sitting there like a little island. This is actually an island. If we go back to this is an island here. It goes over this little span. There's a small little island here. Oh, wrong way. And then comes back out on this. So, here's some more of that dead wood. Here's a bunch of dead wood at the bottom of the dam.
Right.
Just imagine if they opened these gates up, what was going to happen to all that wood, where that's going to go.
Yeah, right into the bridge piers.
Yeah, exactly. and truth be told, do you know what this actually is right here? I shouldn't say it. It's not an island. I forgot it's not an
floating
island.
bog, isn't it?
No, it's not. This is the remnants of the former Milwaukee Road Bridge over the same river. This is the Chicago Northwestern's bridge. This is the remnants of the Milwaukee Roads Bridge over the same river. They were side by side, and back in this location back here off to the right, there was actually a diamond at one point. Yeah. So that goes way, way back. But so here again, he's starting with the every other pier thing. The other, concrete block or the limestone blocks and then the cement. You got that again. So, I mean, cool details there. Here's your basic everyday blah, blah warehouse. Right? Just boring. Hey, this is a boring old warehouse. Well, how many fire hydrants are 4.5 feet high? Honestly, I mean, this is the biggest fire hydrant I have ever seen in my entire life right here. And it's in the middle of a bunch of grass. There's no road right here. There's nothing right here. It's just in the middle of this grassy area. A gate, an open and closing gate right here. A bunch of bushes and stuff around your warehouse. Semi trucks in the background back here.
Yeah, right.
It's not the greatest photo. It's not the most comprehensive photo of, or compelling thing, but there are takeaways from this. Even at that, it's kind of nicer ballast right here, but the weeds are starting to creep in, right?
Yeah, right.
On this side is just taking a picture of the side of the engine. But, no, here, let's take this away. You're at a grade crossing. They redid the grade crossing.
Yeah,
they
didn't redo asphalt.
They didn't redo the striping. So here you have the old striping coming up to it and the new asphalt right here. A modeling thing. You could actually model that,
Yes, good.
It's so you could take anything away from anything. I just thought this was kind of neat. The old Reserve Mining logo was coming through and they have the ELS over the top. So here again, you got a more contemporary thing. You got a Menard sign.
Right. And then if you needed reference on how to do a grade crossing,
yep.
You can see the timbers or the ties down on the rails there.
Yep, the wood planking, the wood planks, and then concrete or cement or asphalt in between.
Faded asphalt, yeah.
Faded asphalt in between. A berm on this side kind of goes down to the track. This is actually a little berm.
So like you're rattling off all of these details and all of these things to pick up. So how, like, the layperson may just look at this and say, well, this is just a picture of a train, right?
Right. Yeah.
And that's great, but like if you were thinking about, or how would you start the process of, okay, let's I want to model this particular grade crossing on my layout.
Okay.
What would be your takeaways from this picture that you would translate to your layout?
Well, one of the first things I would look at is the functionality of the grade crossing itself. Okay. Is it a main road? Is it this actually happens to be the entrance to the parking lot for Menards, believe it or not.
Okay.
But yet it's, still a viable two-way road. So a couple of the things that I would look at with this are the fact that there's curbing. So one of the things is okay, I need to address curbing. So I have the road needs to be slightly lower than the rest of my scenery. You see what I mean? So the curbing actually raises that. So, and then the other thing is there's a sidewalk here. Okay, now I know I'm going away from the road, But these are all aspects that you have to factor in if you wanted to model this. Okay, I have a sidewalk, I have curbing, it's a timber. Okay, it looks like it's a timber. There's timbers on each side. So I need to go and figure out, this is actually in a curve, which I would, do not recommend doing that in modeling. It's kind of, it really isn't overly difficult, but if you're just starting out, do it straight, do it on a piece of straight track. You'll have really good positive results. Doing curves can be kind of tricky sometimes.
Level 2 type stuff.
Yeah, level 2 type stuff. Yeah. So what you would do is I'd take a look and I'd get some like railroad ties. And if you wanted to try using plastic, you probably could. Boomer actually has a really cool video on how to make wood, styrene look like wood ties.
Yeah,
really cool. It's a really cool video. But if you wanted to actually try your hand at using real wood, you could do that. Just get some wood planking and put it in there and see how it looks and start putting things together. And then start trying to take a look at the fact that, it has multiple colors to it. What am I going to use? Obviously it's asphalt.
It's not all the same color. There's variation.
There's variations to the colors. What do I want to use to simulate the asphalt? How do I simulate asphalt? So before I did any of this stuff, I would start looking at YouTube videos. I would start looking at, and not just railroad videos, looking at like the military modelers, farmer modelers, Warcraft guys, all these videos, all these guys, they have amazing videos as to how to simulate asphalt and concrete and how to do these things, and find out and try and play around, like get some scrap pieces and try your hand at some scrap place pieces and see what style and what technique really you like the best. Then go back to your model and start doing it on yours, because there's nothing more dejecting. No, that's not.
That's right. Yes.
Dejecting. There's nothing. There's nothing worse than working really hard on something and then not being happy with the end result because it just didn't look the way you thought it would.
Sure.
And that feeling really makes a lot of times, a lot of modelers will just take steps back and say, you know what, maybe this isn't what I should be doing. So maybe I got to stop doing this. And then next thing you know, 2 years goes by and they haven't done anything, and it's all because of one small project that really didn't work out. So really do some research and work and stuff like that, and
experiment and
experiment.
It's okay to fail. And
if you're not failing, you're not trying. Honestly, in any modeler that you've seen published in magazines and all, guys. I mean, Boomer will tell you. I mean, he's come right out and said, hey, well, I messed this up more than one time. It's not, and guys like Tom, ask Tom Klomoski how many times he's tried something and had to tear it out and do it over and tear it out and do it over. It's part of the learning process. And if you're a beginner, don't be afraid to fail, and doing a road is a really great introduction to try to do like something on a little bit tougher level. Yeah. Because it's not train related. It's not ballast. It's not any of that stuff. Right. So it's good that you can break down, a photo, right. So I'm out railfanning, and essentially, what can I pick up just from this one picture? I can pick up textures. I can pick up, modeling details of the locomotive, how things are oriented,
in relation to elevation and stuff like that. So you can really get that sense of, or try to get that sense of reality into your railroad. So I think it's really cool, like how you can essentially try and translate, well, I just took a picture of a train. Well, did you?
Yeah. What else is there?
Right.
Look
at the bushes along the sidewalk there, right? Those are little details.
Yeah.
Mundane in nature, but
really add accent to your layout. Really give accent to your layout when it,
exactly.
Because look at the freshly cut grass here.
And
The manicured lawn right here, which, and yet right here by the pole, weeds.
Yep.
And it's details like in this photo. One of the first things that I'm drawn to is a spool of cable right here.
Yep.
And this is, in Marinette again. And it's little details like this. Here's a base for a foundation for a signal.
Gone.
This is actually a brand new one. This is to replace one.
Oh, really?
So cool. This is brand spanking new. It just hasn't been used yet. But then on the flip side, I'm not exactly sure what this is, but it's made out of wood and it looks old. I mean, the wooden telephone poles here instead of steel. There's all sorts of different things that you can take away from photos. This is the same, just backed out a little bit more.
Yeah, you zoomed out. Here's your prototypical piles of rails sitting here. This is this is actually where there's some maintenance away stuff that actually is there. The station sign, which is something that a lot of people kind of overlook sometimes. It's just there's so many different things that you can take away. This was just I know the engineer, and he was just giving me some throttle here. You can tell. Yeah, give you a little smoke.
Yeah, he was trying to give me a little smoke. But here in this photo here, you have your multiple tracks, but you have rail laying along the side here.
Mm-hmm.
At least I think that's laying there. Luke would know. He goes here all the time. But in the higher, taller weeds and the different types of you have different types of shrubs.
Right. It's not all just like plain static grass, right? There's multiple textures that you can pull away from there and add, visual, I guess, interest to your little scenes.
Right. No, this right here is the remnants of the coaling tower that was here at one point. This location right here, used to be a roundhouse. This was an engine facility at one point. This was a Chicago Northwestern's engine facility, was right here.
Was this is Marinette?
This is Marinette. Yep.
Yeah.
So this is the coaling state. This is what's left of the coaling tower that was there.
I think that's what Jeremy was saying.
Yeah. And yet, here's another thing you can see: the topography of the track. How it's not exactly all level here. It kind of goes up and down. It kind of dips and stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, but there's endless things that you can get from your photos.
Absolutely. Here's an old Milwaukee Road crossbuck.
Right. Yeah. Variation in signage.
Variation in signage. I was surprised I didn't get kicked out of this location. I'm not going to tell you where it is. If you guys are familiar with Marinette, you'll know where I was.
Oh, I know. You're right by the shipyard.
Yep. And that was not comfortable being right there. I was actually a little nervous being right there, even though I was on public ground. That is no joke of a location.
Yeah, you can get pretty close, and when the guys with the M4s walk up to you and
Yep.
tell you to move, then you move.
Yep. I just kept on moving. That's all there was to it.
Yeah.
Oh, here. I took this picture because I thought it was kind of cool. This buck is standing in the middle of the right of way. He's just sitting there gnawing away, having some lunch, and here comes the ELS. Now in here, the track actually is in here. You can see it's right there. Now this is an extreme situation for your overgrown ballast, but this is on the way out to the old to the paper mill, and I just kind of thought it was kind of a neat look. And the overgrowth is to the point where the box cars are what's keeping it from getting any worse. It's not cut back like that on purpose.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's actually some pretty rackety old trackage. And then there's this whatever this guy's building out here. He's building some house. Yeah, it's a house. Yeah, literally.
He's the king of crivets.
He's the king of something. But it's just taking an opportunity to taking the opportunity to be able to look at your photographs and being able to look at what is going on and seeing what you have really can help with your modeling. So, and I have firsthand experience with that with my bridge that I've got on my layout. So
that's right. So getting on here with almost coming up on 2.5 hours, and some people have asked, hey, when are you going to do that drawing?
Oh, here, we'll do that here in a minute.
We'll do that here in a minute. Mike's going to show us one other picture.
I'm going to show you here. I'm just going to show you my, where the heck did I put that now? Oh, here they are. Here it is. Hold on a second. I'm going to see if
Nathan Crabb, just for anyone who rail fans the ELS, I'd be more worried about the castle guy than the shipyards.
Right?
It was good seeing you, Nathan, the other day at the hobby shop. So,
all right, here. I went out when I had, for those of you that don't know, I had a little abdominal surgery here on August 1st. And after a few days, almost a week or so, I was feeling good enough. I wanted to get out and start working on a bridge on my layout. And I knew that this is a bridge that I wanted to try to capture. So I went out and I got my drone, and I used my drone to take a bunch of photos of the bridge. And I flew it under and around and got in a lot of spots that I was a little nervous with the drone, because I was like, okay, this is, I'm not going to go get it if something happens.
You're fishing it out of the muck.
I'm getting it out of the mud. Yeah. So I was real careful with this, but I captured what I wanted to. And I was able to get the real gist of, how the bents are set up. And then, some of the details. Look at all the old pilings from where the bents have been replaced, or where old bents where an old bridge may have been at one point. And then again, the Wisconsin deadwood on everything.
Right.
And I just went through and I really studied these, even up as much as underneath here. I went and I flew up and got underneath and started looking pictures and finding out exactly how this thing was built. And then with a little bit of help from Andy and from Robert Frischella, here's one thing. You notice this bent here, pretty typical normal size. Here's some little stubby bents, right? Here's a stubby one. This is right up against the retaining wall. So that's the end of the bridge. Here is the retaining wall. So these are all photos that I went and I took of that bridge, right? Well, now here's the bridge in its current condition
On your workbench.
on my workbench. And I actually just took this off of the layout today. But this is...
There you go.
There you go. Yeah. This is the... let's see. I'll get rid of this. I don't need that. So this is the way it looks right now.
Can you tilt it on its side?
Oh, yeah.
Just so we can see the bents?
Yeah. So there are my bents.
It really turned out nice, Mike.
Yeah, it's turning out pretty good. I've got all the material now for making the walkway and the railings. And then this is all glued and pinned. There isn't a commercial part in here. This is just wood. There's wood dowels, and the wood dowels, I actually went and I took an awl, like it's hard to describe.
What an awl is?
No, not what an awl is, but what I use. A burnisher is what I'm looking at. I took a
It's
tool
like a fiberglass brush.
Yeah, this one's brass, but the one I was using is stainless steel, and it's it just kind of goes like this, and I just went and I scraped. I went like this on it, and after I stained it, this was actually stained solid black. So I went back and I varied how I scraped away all the wood, and I did it to each piece prior to gluing it together and putting them on. So this was all done one piece at a time, like literally. And then it's pinned together, like the bents are pinned together. Hard to tell here. But the pins on the bents...
Oh, pull it back just a hair, Bear.
There, you can see a couple of the pins there.
Yep.
That's floral wire. Just
yeah.
Small little pieces of really, really, really narrow floral wire. And then
26 gauge stuff, right?
Yeah, really tiny stuff, but rigid enough. And you keep you want to keep the the coating that's on the outside. You want to keep that on the outside of it, so that way when you put it into the hole, it really, really, really it'll hold really, really tight. And so yeah, this has really come together, and I designed it in such a way so that way I can remove it, and you can see right here there's holes in the center bents of the center pilings of every bent has got holes, right? And I have little brad nails that I cut the heads off of on the layout, and this just goes and slides right on those holes so that I can remove it and work on it on the workbench and take it back, and then the electric and put it back when I'm done. And the electrical connectivity will come from rail connectors on the ends. I'm not going to wire this or anything like that. It's just going to be rail connectored on the ends. It'll be burnished clean, but this will be, so I took those photos that I had.
Right.
And I went and I took those photos, and I went and I did this, and it took a long time. This wasn't an overnight project. I mean, it took me probably a week to get the first bent figured out. And I came up with my own jig. I came up with my own way of doing the whole 9 yards. And it really, I'm very proud of the way this looks. But this is like one of the first non-locomotive or non-freight car things I've ever built from photographs. I haven't really done a lot of it, and this is one of my first things, and it's now I got the itch to do it more. so now I want to get back out there and start taking pictures of more weird stuff.
That's right. So that was really cool how you use the photos that you went and took to essentially, help you build this wonderful bridge that you did.
Yeah, thanks. I will say this much though, Robert Frischella, it was an enormous help. You were a very, very big help, Andy, because you you sent me a little bit of information that I needed. And then Robert Frischella was an enormous help also because of the fact that he was a civil engineer for railroads. So if I had actual technical questions about how something should be spaced, how something should look, all that stuff, I went to him and he gave me the answers. And I, without the two of you, this would still probably be a bunch of sticks. But I really appreciate it and everything. And yeah, I tell you what, this stuff can be a lot of fun. It can be a lot of fun.
Boomer made a comment there about, aren't the rewards of model railroading awesome?
Yes, they are.
And so, and it's been fun to watch your modeling progress, Mike, over the course of the last couple of years, over the course of the last 5, 6 years, 8 years that we've known each other, right? You're a good modeler, back then, and just seeing some of the stuff you're coming up with now, you're really turning into a great modeler, and using these tools, and keeping your practice up really does show how good you're becoming.
That's a great question. We need to answer that question. That's an amazing question. Okay, say you're taking a picture of a structure.
Well, let's ask the question here for the audio replay folks. So Stephen N asks, so when you take your pictures of something, how do you get the dimensions?
So there are common dimensions. You do not need to have the dimensions. You can look at a photo and extrapolate one common dimension, and make your own gauge or scale, and scale that entire photo or wall based off of one common dimension. And the most common dimension to look for is a door. Most doors on most industry buildings and most front doors on most houses is 36 inches wide.
3 feet wide.
3 feet wide. And they're typically, how high, Andy? 80 inches.
84,
80 inches. 84 inches. 84 with the jam, right? Is it
correct?
Yeah. 84 would be the rough opening, right?
Right.
Okay. So, but you go 3 feet wide on your door. Now you can know that door is 3 feet. You can actually set up your ruler and mark your ruler at from one end to one end, here's 3 feet, and go 3 feet, 3 feet, 3 feet, 3 feet. And you can actually divide that 3 foot section into whatever scale you want. And if you want to cut it in half and make it 1.5 feet or every foot, whatever, you can do that. You can use a piece of paper, which is probably the easiest way to do it, and make your own scale and scale the structure in every dimension just based off of that. You know, there you go. Yep. I use
3x7.
3x7 all the time.
Industry slab doors, 3x7.
Yep, absolutely. So that's the easiest way to try to find out what general dimensions you're going to get. Are you going to get down to the last half inch? Probably not. But are you going to get close enough to be able to say, well, this looks kind of like it? Absolutely. And all you think you can do is go for it.
Yeah. And if someone brings a ruler to your layout and measures that down to the absolute minute millimeter, you can show them where the door is.
Yeah, you can show them the 36x7 door. So that's, if anybody else has any other questions or anything. Thanks, Chris. We don't need to put that on.
So anyways, very good, Mike. And that was a good segment. I think we got about 70 folks still lingering around here for the drawing. You want to show the folks here what's on up for grabs this evening?
Yeah, absolutely. Our friend, #not sponsored.
#not sponsored.
Mike Arnold from Bespoke Rail.
Bespoke Rail
Was kind enough to make us a second section podcast 30-ounce tumbler. This is beautiful. Should I take it out?
Yeah, why don't we show them what the high
First
quality.
Of all, the packaging is amazing on here.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it's got built date, and it's really, look at, load limit is 30 ounces, lightweight 12 ounces.
Yeah, right.
It's pretty cool.
But I mean, this is a cool tumbler, and you have a couple of them, don't you, Mike?
Yeah, I have he's made a Farland Terminal one for me, and I also have a Green Bay and Western one at home. So here it is.
There it is. So that's what we're giving away tonight, and they got some other cool stuff available at Bespoke Rail. And I'm just, I know we did hashtag not sponsored, but if you guys want to stick around for the drawing here, I'm going to make you go through the timeshare pitch here. So bespokerails.com, they have some really cool things. Not only do they have the tumblers, so they do the 30 ounces, the 14 ounces. You could have a custom one done up. They have a bunch of railroads available out there. Then they also do these beautiful wood in, basically they're like a whiskey barrel lid.
Yep. I got a couple
that I think he uses a CNC CNC mill to put the design in, and they paint them and then varnish them.
His wife hand paints each one.
Right. And you can get them, just these beautiful things for $100. You can have a custom one of your home road done, and they got tons and tons of stuff out there. They've been out at we met them at Train Fest is where we got to know them this last year. They were at the national convention recently and had a good showing there. So I will put their link here in the chat if someone hasn't already. It's www.spokerails.com. There we go. So now, how do we enter the contest? The rules tonight are simple. What I'm going to need you all to do is we're going to do hashtag bespoke. Type hashtag bespoke into the comments here, and this will get you an entry into the drawing. So we'll open up the drawing here or the entries here for a couple minutes here while Mike and I talk about a couple administrative items, and then we'll collect hashtag bespokes. No, Ralph, not the spoke, bespoke, like on the screen. And make sure you get those in, and then we'll do the grand giveaway here. It looks like the entries are coming back here. Very good, very good. So next show, we are going to have Chris Palomari from Home Shops here on the show. That's going to be a riot. Really looking forward to talking with him. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you guys do so and stay up to date on everything. We're also out on Patreon now. So if you want to support the podcast, Patreon's a great way to do it. I got a running little blog going out there of some of the modeling that I'm doing and just updates on the show. And we're also out on Facebook. You can catch us at the Second Section Podcast Facebook group. Make sure you answer the questions to get into the group, and we'll let you into this fantastic modeling community that we have out there. So right now, let's see here. I got 33 entries in there, 35. We'll give it another minute here. Mike, I just got to say thank you tonight for the show. This was all Mike.
You're next, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just wait until I get to do this to you.
Yeah. So Mike put this whole show together for backup content, and it was fantastic. He did a great job. So, send us a little note either in the comments after the show or out on the Facebook group, letting us know what you thought about the show tonight. So, all right.
One thing I really want to see after the show is I want to see some of you guys who haven't tried doing projects like we mentioned and stuff. I want to see your first attempts at it. That's what I want to see. I want to see how your thought process is to attacking these projects and doing this stuff, because that to me is fascinating, because I remember how I used to look at things, and now I look at things completely different. And it's because I had great people around me encouraging me to look at things in a different way. And so, I would love to see some of the projects that guys are doing that they've been afraid to tackle before because they've just haven't been confident to do it. I'd love to see some of that stuff. It's going to be, it would be great. That would make me feel really good.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see what's going on, and are we helping? So, okay, hashtag bespoke. That's what we're going as here. I have 40 entries here. We're going to close it down here in another minute. So make sure you're getting hashtag bespoke into the chat. So let's see here. Hashtag bespoke. There we go. All right. Yeah, Tim Moran's weathering a boxcar and posting his progress out on the Facebook group. And it's been fun to watch him progress. We have Mike Shanky, friend of the show. He's been progressing, getting a lot of help from the community at large over at the second section.
And he was terrified of even trying something.
And now
now look at it. He's like old hat,
Around the Layout podcast says, is it bespoke or bespoke? I don't know how to pronounce words really well, being from the Midwest and all. So
yeah, it's that.
Yeah, give me some of them there bespoke.
Yeah.
So make sure you guys get signed up. Okay, I think we got 30, 39, 40 entries now. I think what we'll do is we'll go over here. I'm going to share the picker, and we'll give away this wonderful here.
Thank you again, Michael Arnold and everybody over there. That's awesome. And Emily, you guys did a great job.
All right, last chance for romance here. All right, we're going to hit the draw button, and away we go.
Oh,
Soko Olds 455 is the winner this evening of the Bespoke Rail, or the Bespoke Rails tumbler, the second section tumbler. So well done, Soko Olds. If you could PM myself or Mike after the show, you can either reach us at second section podcast at gmail.com, or you can find Mike and I on Facebook Messenger. That works too, and we'll collect your contact information and get that sent out to Sweet. So well done on the giveaway tonight. Thank you again to Bespoke Rails. Some really cool stuff. I need to get myself one of those whiskey barrel lids.
Yeah,
that's for sure. So, okay, this is probably going to take us right up here to the end. Mike, any final comments? I know you added a little bit there, but We'll give you the usual awkward final bits, and then we'll tie down for the
The
night.
part that I hate.
Yeah, I just like doing it to watch you
I
squirm.
know you do. I know you do. It's like it's what makes you get to sleep at night, isn't it?
Yeah.
So honestly, I first of all, thank you for all the kind comments to everybody. I appreciate it. This isn't anything anybody like any that you need any super special skills to do. All you need to do is have a little bit of confidence and go back and take a look at some of the pictures that you've already taken, even if
There
they're
you
in print form. Take a look at those photos and don't look at the train. Look at everything around the train. Take a look at what you can take away from that, because those are the things that can really, like, the trains are nice. That's what that's what the hobby surrounds. But even in the real world, especially in the real world, there's life around that train. And that's modelable too. Track is a model. Structures, everything everything that you see in real life can be modeled somehow. Just go for it. Go do it.
I agree.
It
was, I love doing this show because I selfishly get to learn from you and others on how to improve in the hobby. And I just want to thank you, because you've taught me a quite a bit, especially with looking at pictures and starting to look for the other little details just around the locomotive or the box cars, and that's helped me out tremendously. So
your scene right behind you is a testament to that. I mean, that is phenomenal.
Yeah, this here, this is basically Empire Junction, right? So on the LS and I, I'm trying to get this rock cut and outcropping basically, modeled after that right behind me. And so a lot of pictures, a lot of advice have helped with that. So thank you. I do want to thank the section crew tonight. I think at one point we had almost up to 150 people in the show tonight. Good comments, good questions, great camaraderie. It's quite the group that we're pulling together here. I want to thank you again for showing up and showing out. Really, really good stuff. And again, thank you to our friends over at Bespoke Rail. I'll make sure to get their contact info in the show notes this evening. So we're going to be back in 2 weeks with Chris from Home Shops, and make sure to check our Facebook group out. We have our show schedule posted there. We have got a star-studded cast coming up here,
and then some,
to kick off modeling season.
Yeah.
So stay tuned and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of the model railroad goodness that's going to be coming your way. Thank you, everyone, for a great show this evening, and we will see you all in 2 weeks. Good night.
Night.